Hey everybody! Hey everybody! Hey everybody! Hi everybody! It has been way too long. We have a lot to cover. I would like to jump into it, but first, this is all Survivor. This is all just the games and the fun and the excitement. That's why I'm in my survival outfit, my literal survivor hat. Um, but yes, there is a lot to talk about right now. I have skipped a couple of weeks unintentionally, just life got in the way and yada yada. But we can talk about the most recent thing that happened was the NFL draft, and not even the Patriots, not even the fans, but every single team and analyst in um, the NFL have gave an A+ to um, the Patriots. Jeez, my brain forgot what I was gonna say. They selected Will Campbell, which is a great selection. A lot of people said he had small arms, but honestly, I think that's a little bit better because when you're trying to push somebody back and your arms are just a little too long, you're not gonna have strength throughout the whole thing. It's like a bendy straw. The shorter the straw is, the tougher it becomes. The longer it is, the more wobbly it is. So I absolutely love this pick. I love the interview that he did. He said he will live and die for his quarterback. Oh, sorry, he'll die for his quarterback. And I think that's the exact energy you want. And then they immediately followed it up with an amazing pick. Yes, they have forgetting his name. I just was playing Madden 2 with the Patriots, but Travion Henderson. A lot of people did not expect Travion to drop to them, and I think the Patriots knew that. I think it was a deep running back class and a deep wide receiver class, but I think they just figured, you know what? Let's go get a running back. Let's go get a star running back. And this running back can throw. Can throw. He can probably throw. He can run and he can catch, which is a perfect combination that the Patriots desperately need. And then they followed that up with the first wide receiver off the board. I was thinking they would take a wide receiver in the second round, but getting a running back that's that's similar to James White that I've seen, that's a great selection for that guy. For that guy. And then they followed it up with the third pick in the third round. The I actually don't remember where, but it was a nice pick. It was Kyle Williams. Sorry, that was my reminder to do this. Um, yeah, Kyle Williams I think is a fantastic player, and again, a lot of people I don't think expected him to be available for the Patriots here. Pretty much every single player everybody did not expect. And then Jared Wilson, they just wanted to show up on getting O-lineman help. I think this is a great selection. He's big. He plays for Georgia, so he understands what the Patriots I think are trying to do. Um, then they followed that up with what I thought was a surprise pick at this point. It is the fourth round. I thought it was a surprise pick because I thought they were trying to find at least a free safety to replace McCourty, but a lot of people were raving about this guy, and so I'm just as happy to get this guy. A lot of people were wanting him. Um, then they followed it up with they kept trading down too, which I think was a quality thing to do after the third round. They were getting more and more picks to accommodate more and more players, and they were taking basically the best available player. This was another person that somebody wanted was Josh Farmer. He is just more of I would assume more of a depth guy for defensive tackle, but a lot of the scores, basically every score of the guys that were picked above the fifth round, were amazing value for where they got them. So I'm very excited about this pick. And even this guy, Bradley Swanson, everybody was kind of surprised that he fell to the Patriots. Um, and they're taking players from top teams. They're taking players from LSU, Florida State, Cal State isn't that big of a school. It actually makes me want to play the college football game again. Um, and Andre Borgalis, I think that's how you say his name. Um, he nailed every single kick that he did on the draft day. He was the best kicker by far, and I think that's what the Patriots needed, was a solid kicker. Because Stephen Gostkowski, the kicker that just lost out on Hall of Famer, he won them a Super Bowl, but just lost out on being a Hall of Famer. He'll probably be a Hall of Famer later, but that's what the Patriots need while they're in this rebuilding kind of era, is a great kicker, somebody who they can rely on to give them at least 3 points. This guy, he made a 60-yard kick, and in the draft, the pro day, I think he made like a 65-yard kick. So he doesn't just have power, he has accuracy to get it where it needs to go, and that's very important for the Patriots, because there may be a couple plays where they stall out because there's a lot of new players on this team. There's a lot of moving pieces. This is a team that I feel like has found their identity, but not the individual player identity. They are still trying to find out who they are and what their contribution to the team is going to be. Obviously, Andreas is the kicker, so he has one job and one job only, and that's to kick the football. Not saying it's an easy job, saying there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. And then they rounded out the draft. Just with a couple of guys. Marcus Bryant, just O tackle depth, perfectly fine with me to take a big O tackle and O tackle, that's fine. Just put a big body there. O tackle and kicker, I feel like, are really underappreciated positions. Long snapper. I didn't realize what an LS was. But yeah, another long snapper, another probably a guy perfect for the kicker, perfect for just again O-line depth. They're really showing up on that O-line depth. Kobe Minor is a cornerback, I believe. He was the last pick. Yes, he was the last pick of the actual draft. They had Mr. Irrelevant pick. I don't know if he will work out. I don't know if he won't. We'll have to wait and see, but they were basically drafting from absolute need and then starting to take depth pieces, and now they have a depth piece in cornerback. Like I said, and like everybody else has said, these are A+ picks. The draft couldn't have gone better for the Patriots. I'm glad they didn't trade down from 4. I'm glad they stuck with their guns. But one of the absolute biggest surprises of the draft was it went Cam Ward, then the Jaguars traded up for Travis Hunter, and then it went somebody else, and then it went somebody else, and it went somebody else, and somebody else, and somebody else. Shedeur Sanders wasn't picked until the 5th round, and ironically, he was picked by the Browns, who already had 4 quarterbacks. So to me, and I could rant about this a little longer. To me, I really hope, and I think other teams are hoping he figures this out. He was purely picked in the 5th round because of his personality, not because of his skill. He is an amazing player. He has amazing abilities, though he didn't have an amazing record in college football, and then his number got retired, and it was more about the hoopla and the showmanship of everything. His dad, obviously Deion Sanders, did have that showmanship, but he had the skills to back it up. That's the big difference. And then Shiloh Sanders actually cut his dad off from being his agent. I think that was the smartest move, because he didn't get drafted, but he immediately got picked up by the Buccaneers, and he may not be a good player. Time will tell, but I think Shedeur should have cut off his dad because it was more about the showmanship. They were telling teams in the draft, in the interviews, "Oh, don't draft my son." There was an interview with Deion Sanders that telling certain teams without actually saying the name that if they draft my son, he's not going to go there. It's like, but that's not your choice. You've had your time. Let your son have his time. And I don't know why he couldn't just take a step back and let his son shine. He retired his son's number. He basically favored his son, and Shador in his final season went like 13-15. That's not great. And I really hope it humbled him, because in the beginning of the draft, before the first overall pick, everybody kind of knew the Titans were going to take Cam Ward. But near to the end of the first, Shador and his dad were going all over the internet saying, "Oh, my son's better than this. My son's amazing." And then as it started getting to the third round and the fourth round, they were starting to get like a little bit humble, but more like egotistical. And then when it was the fifth round, they fully came out and apologized basically and said, I'll be happy to play wherever I play. And it's like, good. Like hopefully that gave you some humanity, because you can't go in the draft process, in the draft interviews, and crap talk other teams. They're not going to draft you. The Browns even drafted another quarterback a round before him. They had the opportunity to draft Shador, but they probably didn't want to draft him and pay him more money than he was worth. So we'll see what happens with that. They could easily cut him. He's a fifth round pick. They don't really care. A lot of people are thinking, oh, there's some conspiracy that like the Browns are gonna get extra money or something, and then somebody thought there was conspiracy that him going through the draft is a hoopla, and he's gonna sign in the XFL, and that's gonna ramp up the XFL, and then it's gonna be the XFL against the NFL. And it's like, no, Canada has the CFL and nobody watches that. No Canadians even watch the CFL, and I'm Canadian. So I'm really hoping that it gave him some humanity and a little bit of humiliation, because of how much of a jerk he was to the other teams. But we will carry on, because it's already been 10 minutes and I've just talked about the Patriots. Free agency, I believe I talked about this, but I will go over it again. Stephon Diggs was probably the biggest get, and for a 3-year contract. That is a great value for a 35-year-old, I think, because he will be the speed guy. He'll be the guy that can just zip down the field, and we all know Drake May has a great We know this about Drake May. He's already leaps and bounds better than Mac Jones, better than most quarterbacks that the Patriots have had in recent time, obviously, except for Brady. Then Jack Gibbons, a left back. I think it's left back. Just again shoring up that defense. He's only on a 1-year contract, but that's totally fine with me. He was more of just a depth guy. And we'll see what happens. Like he is coming over from the Titans, so obviously he has a relationship with the ball. Garrett Bradbury, complete depth in the center position. So now they've drafted a center, and they have a center in free agency, and they both can help each other. The veteran can teach the prospect and see which one comes out. See which one comes out on top. You kind of have a position battle there. Obviously, the veteran wants to play because he signed. Oh, he did actually only sign. 2-year contract. Sorry. He did sign a 2-year contract, but I think he probably thought. I don't know how old he is. I want to say 33 for some reason. So he's getting up there in football age. But I think he'll be a great mentor for Jared Wilson. But Marcus Epps, I'm actually happy about getting Marcus Epps. He's always been a great player, and I've enjoyed his journey. He hasn't been a big name, but that is kind of the Patriots' way, is they take these smaller names and make them big names. That was why Belichick was Belichick, because he was able to take the name that nobody really understood nobody knew, and turn it into a household name. Or he was able to take the name that was a once was name, and then revamp their career for a couple years. Then they went with Wes Schwester. I don't know how to say his last name. Just again pure O lineman depth. They are really showing up on the O tackle and the O line, just to definitely help out Drake May. I'm okay with not drafting a lot of wide receivers and tight ends. I was hoping they would draft a big tight end, but that's fine. Um, but we will have to see, because last year they drafted a bunch of wide receivers. So I think this year with the new offensive line, last year with its wide receivers, again, like I said, it's a lot of moving pieces. There is a lot of new players on this team from free agency, from the draft, from last year. Last year, most of this team is at least um, 1 to 2 to maybe max 3 years in the NFL. This is probably the youngest team, one of the younger teams in the NFL. Um, I thought Chase Young was one of the players, but I'm pretty sure he was. But Mac Hollins, another great wide receiver. So they've picked up two wide receivers. That is also probably why they didn't draft any big name wide receivers in the draft, because they had some from last year. Then now they have two, and a lot of people aren't thinking Mac Hollins is going to do that great, but he was pretty good on Buffalo. He really helped Buffalo. He was the Now that they have Diggs is the fast guy. He's the guy who can whip down the field. Mac Hollins is that short field guy, that guy that you just need that 10 yards, that 15 yards, something to just gain your confidence with. Mac Hollins is that guy. Then we have Josh Dobbs, 2-year contract, $8 million, not bad at all. Nice depth for a pitcher. Nice depth for a quarterback. He's only on a 2-year contract, so obviously they'll probably look at other options. Maybe he'll do good. Maybe, I don't know. But obviously the main starter is Drake May. But the ball obviously saw something in Dobbs to make him the backup, and that's totally fine with me. Then they signed Tonga. Again, pure defensive tackle depth. Really showing up on that D tackle and the O line, because Mike Vabal, that was the big thing in the Titans, was he loves the trench guys. He loves the middle of the field guys. And probably the biggest name, well, one of the biggest names, that the Patriots were surprisingly able to get was Milton Williams. He just won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, and he was a main factor in that game. So everybody, I think, was very shocked when he wanted to sign with the Patriots, but he's only 26, I believe, and they signed him to a 4-year contract. So he'll be there until he's 30, unless he gets traded or whatever. But he's going to be a great guy to lead the defensive tackle, to lead the trenches. He's sacked Patrick Mahomes like 3 times in a row, I believe. Sorry, there's something in my eye. And then they have Morgan Moses, great offensive. Oh, there it is. Great offensive tackle. Not depth. He'll definitely be a starter, but he is actually the same position as Campbell. So maybe they'll move Campbell over, or they'll move Moses over. Maybe Moses will teach Campbell how to play in the left tackle, because that was one of their biggest needs. Then you have Carlton Davis. So you have a tandem now of Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, and I think that's one of the best tandems in the NFL right now. They probably could use a third cornerback, but they do have a good one, but they could use a better one. That's my only not gripe, but that's my only extra addition to this team. Robert Spline, 3 years, came from the Titans, great LB. So he's really, like I said, he's showing up, not even just the trenches, but he's showing up the guys on the outside. Because even when the Patriots had the worst offense and the worst record they've ever had, they still had the best defense in the game for like 2 years. Now they even have probably a better defense from the best defense. And then to end it all off, they were to bring back some guys, Hawkins, Hooper, Thumbs Jr., Austins, Jacobs, Brown, and Ellis. Again, just showing up on the OL, the outside guys. But Harold Landry, I think, is going to be a great tandem with Spline. Harold Landry is more of that middle linebacker type of guy than probably a linebacker type of guy. So I'm very excited to see what those two can do together. I'm very excited about the future of this team because they have, like I said, probably more moving pieces than everybody assumes. But we will have to see. Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. I assume they're going to at least get more than 4 wins, and my hot take is they're probably going to make the playoffs. No, they are going to make the playoffs because this team probably does have a couple years to figure themselves out, but maybe they can find their identity sooner than later. So we will have to see with them finding that just what kind of team are they? What kind of team do they want to be? What kind of players do the players want to be for that team? And I think one has to go with the other. You can't find an identity for a team if a particular player who's playing in the same position as another superstar doesn't know what kind of player he wants to be. Gonzalez and Carlton Davis are probably very similar players, but Gonzalez is according to me, because I've watched him, he is a great man-to-man. Carlton Davis is also a great man-to-man. But maybe Carlton Davis wants to play more of a free safety type of role while being a cornerback. Maybe a short safety type of role. I don't know if that's what that's called, but I'm very excited about the future of this team. I'm very excited about winning more than 4 games. I'm very excited about the Patriots spending and going out and getting their players. They didn't hoot and haw. That's what a lot of people didn't like about Belichick, is he never really spent on players. That's why he was so good at finding the hidden gems, finding that guy that nobody was really looking at. But I think that kind of time is over. There's not a lot of players now that teams will pass over a couple times. I mean, ironically said, Shedeur Sanders, but he sabotaged his own draft interviews by simply saying, "You guys suck, and I won't play for you." I don't know if that's directly what he said, but we will just have to see. Like I said, I'm extremely excited. But now to talk about my team. I mean, the Patriots are my team, but Boston. Boston hasn't had the greatest season this season at all. And it doesn't help seeing our biggest rivals in the second round. But I will shortly talk about that because it is the Leafs. The Leafs do Leaf things. The last time they were up 2-0 in a series, Boston beat them in Game 7. The Leafs will never get past the second round because it's the Leafs. They don't know how. They don't have that drive, like they just don't have that need, basically. They one last point, but they always keep going for the once was players or the has been players or the players that they think are gonna be a superstar and then never do. They had the three youngest players on the team. Now those players are my age. Now those players are like 27, 28, and they're getting into their prime. But that's not good enough. Marner will probably leave. Tavares will probably leave. Matthews will probably leave in 4 years, if because he only has a 3-year contract right now. They couldn't lock him in because the Leafs are so bad that they couldn't even lock down their own captain. He was unsure about the future of this team, and yeah, they've won 2 games, but so what? They've been there before. They almost got reverse swept by a team that has basically made them play 12 periods, and they're exhausted at this point. They've exhausted themselves. Florida is 1000% going to come back and beat them in Game 7, and it's going to be even funnier if they can reverse sweep them. I don't know if they can because 2 and 2, I think that'd be 6. I don't know. My math could be wrong with that. But enough talking about them because it's the Leafs, or as everybody always calls them, the Laughs, because they can't seem to do anything. Um, I totally forgot that Matthew Schaefer was a defenseman. I up until like days ago, I thought he was a forward. I don't know why I thought that, because I think mostly people draft forwards with the first. But they had the draft lottery, and the Islanders moved up from 10 to 1, and Utah moved up from, I forget where, but they ended at 4, and a lot of people are like, oh, like of course you give it to of course you give it to a New York team, and of course you give a high pick to the brand new team in the NHL, but the Islanders haven't really been a great team, and it was extremely close that the Bruins, it was like a second off that the Bruins could get the second overall pick. That would have been absolutely huge. But I think this is how it's going to go. Matthew Schaefer first, the Islanders. A lot of people, I think, wanted the Islanders to draft a forward because they don't have a lot of scoring besides Matthew Barzal. But I mean, getting the top defenseman in the draft is probably amazing. Like, and in the Sharks, Michael Misa. There could be a chance he goes first. And then Schaefer obviously goes to, I would assume, the Sharks. But we'll see. This is actually a very interesting mock draft that I'm looking. I just looked up a random one. Schaefer makes sense. Misa makes sense. But Porter Malone, the guy that's actually dropping in this draft, and Utah with the fourth. Oh yeah, Utah got the name the Utah Mammoth. Out of the choices of Utah Hockey Club, Utah Outlaws, and Utah Mammoth, I like the Mammoth because it makes a natural rivalry with the Predators, and the Utah Outlaws seemed to like college team name. It seemed to like kind of a cartoony type of name. And the Mammoth, there's already a mascot for that. You can have like a plushy mammoth for the kids. Like there's a lot that goes into that name. But Fundell, there was a chance that he could drop to 7. I don't know though if this is how it goes, but you never know. This is an interesting one. See, being at 7 is kind of okay. Obviously, I would have preferred second, but being at 7 is okay because the top 6 keep changing. I keep seeing Fundell being available at 7. I keep seeing Porter Malone being available at 7. I keep seeing the Desnoyers? I don't know, Caleb. I keep seeing Caleb being higher up in the draft. But I think it would be absolutely huge if I keep seeing James Hagen go 5th. It would be huge if the Bruins could trade up. But the issue, and I'm starting to lean on this side of the crowd now, the Bruins don't make moves like that because of their GM. Sweeney hasn't really done like an aggressive move like that. In the draft, at least. Yes, in free agency, he got Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov, which are great big names, and they are now in their second year, so I think they just needed a year to figure things out. This was just a weird year for everybody. And Boston will come out with a top pick. I really hope they don't trade down. I don't think they've done that in the past. But the guy that for some reason I've been seeing scouted on is Roger McQueen. And before I learned about his like major back injury, he's a 6'5" centerman. He is a Boston Bruin through and through. Though the game is going away from those big brooding players. Like yes, you have you have the Kachucks, and you have the Matthews, and you have who's another big body? I can't think of any. But they don't use their body. They more use their skills. So I don't want is 6'6". I don't want a big 6'6" centerman that doesn't really move a lot. Plus, this guy like broke his back basically. Um, but it would be huge to have a 6'6" guy with Dean Latorta who's 6'7". But I don't want to draft big guys just to compete against the other people. I want our own Matthew Schaefer. I want our own Porter Malone. Like I don't want to draft a guy just because they think he's going to be a great defense against these type of offensive players. A player that I'm kind of hoping, because I've watched him, because I go back to Brantford every so often. I grew up in Brantford. Is Jake O'Brien. Jake O'Brien was a huge factor for the Brantford team, and when he wasn't there, they kind of fell apart because Jake O'Brien, the player that I relate him with is David Krejci. David Krejci is the most unsung hero, probably one of the most unsung heroes of Boston, because he was the guy to set up the play. He was the guy to sacrifice a potential goal for a guaranteed goal of somebody else. He knew how to read the ice and how to set up the play and how to just get the puck instead of just dump and shoot. And he knew where to pass the puck to. When Jake O'Brien wasn't there, the Brantford team, they were just shooting on net just to shoot. And sometimes that is good, but if you look at that one Leafs game where they lost in the first round against Ottawa, it was like 32 shots against 16, and the score was tied 2-2. So I would rather my team shoot just under 20 shots that are great than 36 shots that are so-so. But we will have to see what happens in the draft. Jake O'Brien might be available. I would assume McQueen will drop. There's also another guy that has been scouted for Boston, Brady Mountain, I think it was, and he was projected to like not even be a first round pick, but out of nowhere, he turned on the Jets, and has turned himself into maybe a top 10 pick, which is huge, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to take the guy that has this amazing skill, or this rising skill, or if I want to take the best available guy. I feel like at this point with the 7th overall pick, you kind of have to pick the best available guy. And Boston is going to go through a little bit of a retool. People want them to go through a full rebuild, but it's like, no, they still have competitive players on this team. They still have a team. I think they just need to be a little bit better in free agency. I'm not complaining about getting Elias Lindholm and Zadorov. They are great players, but we need depth. We probably need a better backup goalie. I was kind of upset that we traded Allmark, but we then used that pick to get Dean Latorta. And everybody's complaining about that, but he was picked last year. And fun fact before I go, people keep complaining about Sweeney drafting. In every single draft, in every single year since 2015, including 2015 too, there's at least been one player in every single draft class that the Bruins have drafted to make the squad and to be a contributing factor on the team, which is great. Like, imagine having at least one player per draft in the last 10 years of drafting to make the team and be a factor, which is awesome. But for now, I will bid you adieu. But you're awesome, stay awesome, and rock on. Peace.